that isn't enough for the city to keep up with the rising costs of providing services for our growing population. In fact, I've asked our city directors and in this budget process and our chiefs to let me know what they need to provide the level of service that's necessary to address the needs of all 36,000 of our residents. They did that. They gave me their department demands and their staffing demands. And because of the city's limited projected revenues, I was forced to cut about $5.5 million from their department requests and an additional $1.8 million in their staffing requests. And that is a significantly proportionate amount of the overall cost of operating city services that we had to cut, that we had to say no to. So the city of Mount Vernon's government is making drastic cuts in order to attempt to provide its residents with the level of service that they demand, the level of service that they need. But what we're left with is truly the level of service that we can afford. In my 2025 budget, I have prioritized public safety, as I promised to do. City Council has been fully supportive in these efforts, and for that, I'm truly appreciative and grateful to them. I feel like we are moving forward together, and that this property tax ordinance supports the values of the vast majority of our residents, and we thank them for their contribution to support our efforts to keep our city safer. So with that, I'll ask Doug to present this item. Doug.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, council members. So tonight we're going to hold a public hearing to present and take comment on the 2025 city budget revenue sources. I'm going to start off the presentation here. So first of all, revenue projections, they must follow all of our city revenue policies. The first one is that our current revenues will be sufficient to support current expenditures, are calculated using an objective analytical process, and will be neither overly optimistic nor overly conservative. Estimates will be performed utilizing accepted analytical techniques and shall access the full spectrum of resources available to finance city programs and services. So these are the revenue policies that I went over with council before the beginning of the budget process. And so that is what we used when we were coming up with these revenue estimates. We use a lot of different resources when we're coming up with these. We look at a lot of historical information and trends. There's a lot of state resources. Our Municipal Research Service Center, or MRSC, they have a revenue guide that comes out that really helps us out a lot. It also includes, we also get all the state revenues, and we know exactly how much we need to put in there for those. So those are coming right from them. We get management input. We also talk a lot with the other cities in the county about, hey, what are you guys doing? What do you think? What are you seeing? And so we spend a lot of time on analyzing those different revenue streams. So overall, just looking at our all funds revenues, we're looking at $90,291,802. And as you can see here, that is an increase a decrease of about $40 million. And I'll explain what most of that is right now. So first of all, taxes, I'm going to kind of skip that right now because I have my next slide. It only talks about the taxes. So, but right now we're looking at going up about $596,000. That's a 1.8% increase overall. License and permits are going up about $121,000. Now, again, this is looking at our 2024 estimated actuals in comparison to the 25 budget numbers that we're coming up with. License and permits, we actually are going back up to more of the budgeted amount because this year was kind of low. So that's why you're seeing that increase in there. Intergovernmental services are going down almost $14 million. This is mostly or entirely from all of our grants and federal and state grants that we use for the Mount Vernon Library Commons project. Charges for services are going up about 4%. The majority of those are utilities, but all the other charges for services that the city has. Fines and forfeits going up about $24,000. Miscellaneous revenues about 1.9 million. That also includes 1.2 of that is actually probably will be moved, but that's right now it's looking at potential maybe RCO funds at $1.2 million for the Parks Department. Other income is going down about $300,000. Non-revenues pretty much staying about the same. And then other financing sources are going down about $30 million. And of course, and what's included in that is all the operating transfers in, but also for the Mount Vernon Library Commons project, we had that $19 million bond anticipation note that was included in there, as well as in TIFIA loan revenue that we're receiving this year. So overall, our 2024 estimated actuals are $131 million, and our 25 estimate is $90 million, going down about 31.1%. Okay. Looking at our city tax revenues, first thing you notice, looking right down the right-hand side there, we're not really projecting any increases on anything. Hoping things are going to come in about the same amount as last year, or excuse me, this current year. Our 2024 estimated actuals are just under $33 million, and we're looking at coming up about 33.5. 548,000 of that is under the property tax that I'll talk about here, and then 48,000 is just looking at some of the trends with the utility and some of the other taxes. I had an increase in there for about $48,000. Looking at our 25 estimated city governmental funds revenues, and again, these are our revenues that hit the general fund, streets, parks, and library. We're looking at about a 7.5% increase, going from 42.1 million to 45.3 million. As you can see in there, again, the first line there is the taxes at $596,000, license and permits, $122,000, intergovernmental services, that 1.8 million. Included in that 1.8 million is that 1.9 million levy increase from the EMS levy increase. Charges for services are going up $335,000. The main thing in there is our overhead and interfund admin and overhead, excuse me. Fines and forfeits, 24,000, miscellaneous revenue, 46, and then other financing sources about 9% or $151,000. Any questions on any of this so far? Okay, before we get into talking about the sales tax levy, property tax levy, excuse me, I wanted to just go over a little bit here about having a little discussion on how the tax levy and how Washington State determines what that levy is going to be. So as part of the budget process, the taxing jurisdiction establishes the amount of property tax revenue needed to fund the budget. That amount needed to fund the budget is called the levy. It is the total amount to be collected from the taxpayers by a taxing district. In Washington, property tax increases are not based on the increasing value of properties. This causes a lot of confusion, and I think there's only one of two states that does it this way. They are based on last year's property tax levy, which is simply the amount of the property taxes that was assessed in the prior year. So if your home assessed value goes up, it does not necessarily mean that your property tax will go up that same amount. By November 30th of each year, the amount of taxes to be levied by taxing districts are certified to the county assessor in a dollar amount. In Mount Vernon, our tax levy amount in 2024 was $8.9 million, the value of taxable property in the district. By law, this number is expressed in terms of a dollar rate per $1,000 of valuation. So the formula for property tax collections is expressed as the levy equals the levy rate times the assessed value. So what we're doing tonight, the City of Mount Vernon is required by law to hold a public hearing to review revenue sources for the coming year and also to set property taxes for the coming year. The city's property tax increase is limited to the lesser of 1% or the implicit price deflator IPD for the year. Additionally, a city may capture 100% of all new construction and may take any banked capacity available to them. So just going over where we are this year and what we're looking at for next year. For 2024, our assessed value for the city was $5.7 billion. We had new construction of assessed value at $12,162,000, so there was an additional tax of $19,000. We had bank capacity total of $684,527, and last year council approved to use $278,000 of that. And then the 2023 levy amount was $8,922,529 with a levy rate of 1.5617. So this year, what we're have included in the preliminary budget for the levy, the preliminary assessed value from the county that we received is $5,981,743,139. That's a 4.7% increase. New construction assessed value was $17.5 million, which equated to about a $27,361 increase. There was a refund levy of $20,936. The 1% allowable was $93,291. And the bank capacity that's left or available was $406,527. All of these things were included in the 2024 requested levy amount, which comes to $9,470,644, which brings the levy rate, once you take that amount and divided by the assessed value, you come up with $1.5833 per 1,000 valuation. So with that, just looking at some history, as you can see on the left-hand side there, our levy rate from the past 10 years has gone down every year. This year, it's going up a little bit from 1.562 to 1.583. And then on the right side, it just kind of shows that correlation between as assessed values go up, the rates go down. So just kind of showing what the history's been like there. Also, the 24 property tax distribution in Mount Vernon. So currently, right now, the city of Mount Vernon property owner pays property taxes to 8 different taxing jurisdictions. The total levy rate is $10.2159 per 1,000 of assessed valuation. The city receives 15% of this total. So as you look at these 3 charts here, you'll see that Mount Vernon schools, they are the first at or 40% of the total at 4.1007. The state of Washington gets 23%, or 2.3011 rate. We do come in at third at 15% at 1.56, and then Skagit County at 9% at 0.9415, and then the rest goes to the Hospital District, Port 2, Conservation Futures, and Medic 1. So again, just overall, the city of Mount Vernon, you can see on the right graph there, bar graph, that we're about 15% of the total property tax distribution that is paid. Any questions on that? Okay. So, oh, sorry for that dark title there. So now I'm moving on to the sales tax rate in Mount Vernon. So currently our sales tax rate in Mount Vernon is 8.8%. We are about 10% of the total of the sales tax that's collected at 0.85%. And again, you'll see there that the state of Washington receives 74% of every dollar of sales tax that's collected, or 6.5% of it. So this is just a breakdown of everything that, or how the sales tax rates are broken down and who receives it. Looking at our total sales tax, what we have included in the budget was $9.9 million. We're looking like we're going to be coming over that amount, or excuse me, this year. Last year we received 9.994, so just under $10 million. I was really disappointed we didn't hit that. But this year so far, we brought in $8.3 million. We're about $37,000 above what we have collected last year. Looking at what we're doing in 2024, just looking at things, we kind of have a conservative estimate, and we're not planning on increasing that at all. So we're just going to keep it flat, maintained at $9.9 million. Again, just another look at what our sales tax revenues look like. From 2010 on, you can see that there's consistently been increasing, and you know, for this year and then what we're estimating for next year, just trying to keep those pretty flat. Real estate excise taxes. So revenue has always been kind of inconsistent, and the trend kind of shows still a steady but slow growth with real estate excise taxes overall. We're estimated we were doing really well in 2021 and 22, and then we did have a significant drop in 2023. This year it looks like we're going to be about $1.5 million, and we're just assuming that, you know, right now going to leave that flat for next year too, bringing in. You know, these trends don't account for any like one-time big sales or anything like that that can make a significant impact on this. When you see those larger years, it's probably is due to some major projects that were going on that year, and that's why you're seeing that. So real estate excise tax is broken out by 0.25% gets collected for on all real estate for REIT 1, and which is used for city capital projects, and then the same amount for REIT 2, which goes to street cap. That's for street capital projects. All right, and then looking at some of our other major revenues that the city has, our sewer utility fees, solid waste fees, and surface water fees are projected to go up. Those were based off of CPI rate increases, and as well as increases in consumption. The ambulance services, the EMS levy, is projected to go from $1.6 million to $3.6 million. Ambulance services, just a slight increase. We see a kind of a steady growth there. We've estimated by $20,000 going up to some $1.6 million. The affordable supportive housing sales tax, which we started collecting in 2022, we have kind of flat from what we've collected in 23 and estimated for 24 so far, and also for next year for 25. The ground emergency medical transports, and I didn't change this. We just received our GEMT 2024, the $610,000 that's in there for the 2024 were based off estimates on projections that were there. We did actually receive our payment, which was over $900,000. So that number is about $910,000. So that's Councilmember Brocksmith, that kind of answers your question from that. So we're happy to see that come in like that. Building related permits. So the budget for this year was $600,000. We're looking like it's probably going to come in about $500,000. We just put that back to the budgeted amount. The next one's there for motor vehicle fuel tax, liquor board profits, liquor excise tax, and then the last one, marijuana excise tax. Those are all state revenues that they tell us exactly what we're going to be getting. So those are true numbers that we'll be receiving from the state. And then the second from the bottom there, the business licenses, I have just kind of, again, remaining flat, going up just a little bit by $2,000. So any questions on any of these or anything else about the revenues?
All right. If council doesn't have any questions, at this time, we will open up the public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this topic? Please come to the podium, state your name, city of residence, limit your comments to about 3 to 5 minutes. Anyone present? All right. Not seeing anybody. With that, I will close the public hearing for the 2025 property tax levy. Council, would you like to discuss this at all, or make an ordinance or make a motion to approve the ordinance? It would be 3899.
I think we've been discussing this for several weeks, so it's not new, and I appreciate the presentation because it allows the people at home to see what we've been talking about. And with that being said, I would like to move for the approval of ordinance 3899.
By Edis. Council, is there any discussion on this?
I don't necessarily have any discussion. I just had a couple of things that I wanted to say. Doug, you picked up on a lot of the things that were kind of sticking out in my mind. With the city, we have 8 taxing jurisdictions and the city is collecting 15.2% of that. So I looked at my property taxes, and so that's $97.50 a month for 24/7 service in the city. This has just been an unprecedented last couple of years with COVID and then the Great Recession, and the city has done 1 or 2 salary studies. And I would just like to say that we have some of the most dedicated humans in the city working for us, and I want to thank them. This allows us to get 3 FTEs in our fire department and an additional 2 in police. Our police department has been, I think, for at least the last 2 decades, never fully staffed. We've always been down anywhere from 4 to 6 or 7 positions. We are now fully staffed. But we need 2 more. We have heard from the community. We need to up our traffic safety, and so this gets us there. Wasn't a light decision, but at the end of the day, it's important that that we do this. Go ahead.
Any other comments?
I want to go back to our bank capacity. So if I'm reading this correctly, we would be done with bank capacity after this year, right?
That's correct.
Okay. I know it's tough because, next year, we're not going to be able to go diving into that, which.
It will be included next year. It's every year from now on.
Right, but we won't have any more to go take, right?
That's correct.
Right. So if we're $600,000 down, we're gonna have to find it somewhere else by cutting, correct?
Well,
Because we're not gonna go, we'll go to the bank, we'll take that tax, and because we've had it on the sidelines, and so now we got it covered.
yeah, so the bank capacity, when you use it, it continues then every single year. So it's not like if you don't lose it.
Right. But I'm just saying, we've had big CARES money coming in, and all of a
That's
sudden
correct.
that's gonna go away. So,
Yes.
I get what you're saying. Yes, it will continue on, but if we have some big thing come up, we're just got I get a little nervous about not having a little bit of okay, we can go to our bank capacity, because we're stuck at 1% next year if things really went sideways. But you don't know. But I do know that it's nice that we have this available to do some things when we need them, and that is the fire and the police. So I'm thankful that we did bank capacity, and save some of it. So we can do that right now, but, so I have no problem moving forward with that. But I don't know if you want more people in the audience to maybe weigh in on it, but I mean, I think people have been told about what we were going to talk about tonight. They can watch it on TV, and I think you did a great job presenting it. So that's my two.
Thank you.
I'm good with it.
So members,
Yeah, Mayor, if I could share. And just because I don't think it's been explicit yet that this, we've been looking at the various expenses and revenues, and the council's making, it sounds like we're making a decision to increase the monthly contribution for every home in the city, essentially, whether you own or rent, you're probably getting these costs passed down to you, of about $1 a month. And that $1 a month is providing, as Melissa said, 2 additional police officers in July, I think, and 3 additional firefighters in August or so. In addition to maintaining existing levels of service and all the other services that the city provides. So there are some tough decisions here. Certainly, we're not excited about the cost increase, but we know that folks want to have these services, and $1 a month per household is apparently the cost of doing business in 2025. So that's where we are, and I'm supportive of the measure.
council member discussion or comments on this item? There is a motion on the floor to approve ordinance 3899. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed say no. And the motion passes. Thank you, council. There are no more items on this evening's agenda, so we will adjourn the city council study session at
I can't get it.
7:30.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor. I think we had an executive session.
At this point, I will ask the city attorney to
Thank
please
you.
call.
I'd invite the mayor and members of city council to enter into an executive session to discuss with legal counsel matters relating to enforcement actions, litigation, or potential litigation, which the city, the governing body, or a member acting in an official capacity is likely to become a party when public knowledge regarding such discussions likely to result in either adverse legal or financial consequence to the city pursuant to RCW 4230 subsection 110(1)(I). For 20 minutes, we would convene at 7:50 with no final action after.
Right, now we will adjourn the study session at 7:31 p.m.